She left me a note on the fridge. Thanks for the money. I'm starting over with my boyfriend. Good luck. She took the black duffel bag I brought home the night before, thinking it held $10 million. What she didn't know? The money was fake. And this betrayal, it was a test. One she failed. Before I tell you how I turned her betrayal into the perfect revenge, take a second to subscribe if you love real stories with jaw-dropping twists. The note was taped to the fridge. Neat handwriting in blue ink. A heart drawn at the end like it made it cute. Thanks for the money. I'm starting over with my boyfriend. Good luck starting from scratch. My name is Owen Hart, and at 38, I never imagined betrayal would look so polite. The house was silent, not the comforting kind of silence that comes after a long day, but the hollow, almost mocking emptiness you only feel when someone leaves for good. No perfume lingering on the stairs. No sandals kicked off at the entryway. Her drawer was empty. Even the cheap bracelets she never wore were gone. Mara had vanished like a ghost, one that took the illusion of my marriage with her. I didn't shout. I didn't even move for a while. I just stared at the note, rereading the line. Good luck starting from scratch. Which was funny, because the money she took wasn't real. Not the way she thought. 3 years ago, I met Anton Lay in a bar in Berlin. He was drunk, newly heartbroken, and furious at the press dragging his AI startup through the mud after a privacy scandal. I helped him fix it. I crafted a PR strategy, restructured his US rollout, and in return, he promised me equity and a big payout. Last Thursday, that payout hit. $10 million wired from Singapore. I brought the cash home that night. Or rather, what looked like cash. What Mara didn't know was that I'd had a decoy prepared for weeks. A black duffel bag filled with hyper-realistic movie prop bills. I left it in our bedroom closet, zipped and untouched. She found it, of course. She couldn't resist. She played the role well. Shocked, flattered, even a little scared. You sure you want me to hold on to it overnight? She asked, voice light, like she hadn't been snooping. I looked her straight in the eye. If I can't trust you, who can I trust? She smiled. Kissed me. That was the last time I saw her. I watched her run straight into the arms of a man I had never seen before, parked in a cheap rental 2 blocks down. They didn't look back. She was wearing the red jacket I bought her last fall in Seattle. She used to say it made her feel powerful. Good. She'd need all the power she could find now. I went back into the house. Not to grieve. I'd done that already. In pieces. Every time her smile felt a little too forced, or her phone stayed face down at dinner. No. I went back to finish what I'd started. The cameras had caught everything. Her packing. Her making the call. The man pulling up. The way she clutched the duffel like it contained her future. And in a way, it did. Just not the one she expected. She thought she stole $10 million. In reality, she stole the final proof that she never loved me more than what I could provide. 3 hours later, I drove to the private vault across town. It was a quiet building, the kind where old money sleeps soundly. I punched in the code, opened the steel doors, and there it was. The real money, stacked in labeled bundles, pristine. The result of years of sacrifice, quiet wins, and patience. Mara never knew the real numbers. She thought she did. I let her think that. She believed she was taking everything. She was taking nothing. I transferred ownership of the properties she didn't even know we owned. I closed the shell companies she thought were dormant. I notified my legal team to initiate asset protection protocols. And I waited. It took 4 days. On the 5th morning, I got a call from a detective in Miami. A woman had been detained trying to convert large amounts of suspicious cash. When the bank ran the serial numbers, alarms went off. She was crying in the footage. Not because she was sorry, but because she realized the money was fake and her escape plan was ruined. Her new boyfriend had already vanished, leaving her to answer the questions alone. By then, the real money was already funding something new. Quiet investments. Real estate deals that didn't bear my name but bore my fingerprint. The story made the rounds. Not in national news, but in circles that mattered. A con gone wrong. A woman who ran away with a fantasy and ended up in a cell. She tried to contact me once from jail. A letter, handwritten, no return address. It said, "You were right. I was never ready for a life like the one you offered. I thought I was escaping something small, but I only escaped myself." I burned it without reading the rest. I don't need apologies. I don't need closure. I don't need her remorse wrapped in poetic regret. All I need is what I've always needed. To build something real. Something that lasts. And that begins now. I stood at the threshold of the house we once called ours. My name was still on the deed, but nothing about it felt like mine anymore. The wind was sharp that morning, slicing through my jacket as I stared at the familiar front door. Behind it were 15 years of shared birthdays, holidays, dreams, and now, 15 years of lies. I stepped inside slowly, not to avoid making noise. No one was home, but as if walking into sacred ruins. The silence was broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of floorboards. On the hallway table, the wedding photo still stood. Claire in her white dress, beaming. Me with that foolishly proud smile. I almost laughed. The image felt like it belonged to strangers. As I passed through the living room, I noticed what was missing. Not the electronics or the furniture, but the atmosphere. That invisible sense of togetherness, of a life lived, gone. Replaced by something colder. Calculated. I entered the study and opened the drawer where I used to keep the backup flash drive. Still there. I plugged it into my laptop and pulled up the folders she probably thought I had forgotten about. Legal contracts, email archives, transaction logs, everything I needed to finish what I started. Because if she thought taking $10 million in counterfeit bills and running off with a man who thought he'd won the lottery was the end of this story, she didn't know me at all. I spent the next few days preparing everything with the precision of a surgeon. The real money, the $10 million that Mara believed she had stolen, remained untouched in an off-site vault registered under a shell company in Delaware. Meanwhile, I began quietly setting the rest of my plan into motion. First, I contacted an old friend of mine from law school, now a federal prosecutor in Miami. We hadn't spoken in years, but when I mentioned the words counterfeit currency crossing state lines, his tone sharpened. I didn't need her to go to prison. I just needed her to understand what it meant to try to rob a man who saw every angle 3 moves ahead. The next step was digital. Mara had always mocked my paranoia about cybersecurity. 2-factor authentication, encrypted drives, burner phones for international transactions. She preferred Instagram filters and shared Google calendars. That's why she never suspected that I had mirrored her devices. Every photo she took, every message she sent while planning her escape with her new boyfriend, I saw it all. One particular video caught my attention. It was recorded the morning after she left. Her new partner, a tanned man with perfect teeth and an ego the size of Nebraska, filmed her lying on a hotel bed laughing. "I can't believe it worked," she said, holding up the duffel bag. $10 million, just like that. We're free. He laughed. "We should burn it for fun. Make it rain." They did. In the video, he lit a $100 bill on fire. The camera zoomed in. You could see the ink bubble and peel away, and more importantly, you could see the tiny watermark that didn't exist. That was my favorite part. The video had only been sent to one person, his cousin, apparently, who uploaded it to a private group chat. It wasn't hard for me to track down and preserve. Digital evidence is a beautiful thing when you know how to handle it. By the time the Miami police raided their hotel room, Mara had already tried to exchange one of the fake bills at a luxury boutique. That, along with the video, was enough for federal charges. Her boyfriend, the mastermind, or so he thought, was arrested alongside her. He broke within 6 hours, handing over everything: names, locations, details. Typical amateur. And yet, I didn't feel triumphant. I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the city lights flicker below me, and felt a strange emptiness. Justice, yes. Closure, maybe. But not joy. Because the woman I once loved didn't just steal from me. She dismantled the version of herself I had believed in. That betrayal wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in memories. She called once from a detention center in Florida. I let it go to voicemail. "Please," she said, her voice brittle, like a vase seconds from cracking. "Please, I didn't know. I don't even know what I thought. I made a mistake. A huge one. I was scared. Tell me there's still a way back." There wasn't. Not because I hated her, but because some bridges don't burn. They collapse from the weight of too many lies. A week passed. I didn't respond to Mara's message. I didn't need to. The system had already done it for me. Her bail was denied. Her boyfriend, Ryan, according to the arrest affidavit, had taken a plea deal and turned state's witness. In exchange for a lighter sentence, he gave up everything. Their plan, their movements, the counterfeit bills, even Mara's own voice on a phone call where she said, "If he finds out, we disappear." With the bag. That's the plan. The case made the news. Not headline stuff, just enough for a sidebar on a Tuesday night. Local woman arrested in multi-state counterfeit scheme. Her mugshot flashed briefly on screen. No makeup, no filters, just the real Mara. For once. And as strange as it sounds, that image, tired, exposed, haunted me more than the betrayal itself. Because for a brief second, I saw the woman I married. Not the thief. Not the liar. Just a broken human being who thought she could outsmart the person who knew her better than anyone. My lawyer asked if I wanted to press further charges. "There's enough here for wire fraud, too," she said. "You could bury her." But I didn't want to bury anyone. So I wrote a single-page statement to the judge. I waived the pursuit of damages. I asked that she be allowed to serve her sentence in a facility closer to her family in Arizona. The lawyer was confused. "Why?" "Because I'm done with her," I said. "And I want her to feel what that means. The real punishment wasn't a prison cell. It was knowing she gambled everything and lost not just her freedom, but the version of me that would have once taken her back." A month later, the court accepted a plea. Mara was sentenced to 14 months with probation after release. Time served would count. She'd likely be out in 9. But there would be no more shared bank accounts. No more access to my life. No more masks. She tried to write again. A letter this time. 7 pages. Regret, shame, explanations. A desperate apology carved in ink. I didn't read past the first line. I don't know who I became, but I miss who we were. I folded it, placed it in the back of my filing cabinet, and went for a walk. That's the thing about betrayal. People think it ends in fireworks or screaming matches. But sometimes it ends in silence. In stillness. In the quiet understanding that whatever was will never be again. And that's okay. Because while she was sitting in a cell rehearsing her excuses, I was living. I invested the real money into a development project I dreamed about for years. A row of green tech homes in Oregon. Quiet, sustainable, off-grid living. The kind of thing you build when you finally realize that peace is more valuable than people who smile while planning your downfall. One of the units is mine. I don't tell people about the bag or the trial. I just say I used to live somewhere else, and now I'm here. And in the evenings, when the wind cuts through the trees and the stars feel a little too close, I sit on my porch and think not about the betrayal, but about what it revealed. Sometimes losing someone isn't the end of your story. It's the start of a better one.